Guys, welcome to my June favorite. As you guys know, there were some videos I did a few months back where I was doing weekly deck reviews, and I was trying it on for size, but it didn't quite fit. And so I've actually kind of just decided to start doing monthly favorites, and that way I can not only talk about tarot and oracle decks, but I can talk about many other things and hopefully inform everybody of some fantastic books or other things that I've been enjoying, and hopefully get the word out there for independent artists and small businesses and things like that, but also just have a fun show and tell. So get a drink, a snack. This might be a long one. We'll see. So June was an interesting month. Obviously, with COVID-19, things have been a little bit different still for all of us. There's a lot going on, and 2020 has been a whirlwind. We are halfway through it though, but honestly, my card for the year is the Wheel of Fortune, and I'm already really seeing how that's going to go, going to take place. Which brings me to another quick segue. I have been really contemplating doing videos on my cards of the month and kind of just my thoughts on it and how I thought that those cards, those tarot cards, kind of played into the month. So if you guys want me to do a video, start doing videos on that, excuse me, allergy season. I still, we still have the rest of the year, and I can still do that. I can even make a video on the first half of the year and those cards of the month and kind of how I thought those went into play with everything. And that might be kind of an interesting thing to do. Um, Another quick thing, I apologize for these guys, but I have not been able to get into the eye doctor and I need new contacts. So I need to deal with giant bug-eyed reflective. Yeah, I have opinions on my glasses. Um, Also, don't ever cheap out and get the reflective coating for your glasses, especially if you do this kind of thing. Um, so I'm gonna jump right back into it. Thanks for being patient. Um, so June is Pride Month, and that is something that is near and dear to me. I have many friends who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, as well as myself. And I did something that was huge for me. I actually came out, and it was terrifying. It it has been 20 years of me sitting here hiding the fact that I'm pansexual, and people very close to me knew, but my mother didn't, and she passed away not knowing this about me, and I think she would have been supportive. Within the last few years, not only losing my mother, but I lost two other really good friends of mine who were also part of this community, and they knew, and it was just heartbreaking to lose them. So I kind of tied that into doing this as a sense of also honoring them, but honoring being my authentic self. So that was it was cathartic, truthfully. It was cathartic and absolutely fucking terrifying. But I've only been met with just absolute love. And I'm so overwhelmed and blessed by it. And I know not everybody has that when they come out. So if there's anyone out there who is struggling with that and needs someone to talk to, please feel free to send me a message. I would love to just support you because it's not easy. And I surprisingly got it easy so far. So I'm very grateful for that, but I know that's not the case for everyone. So, I'm gonna get into books now. June's actually honestly really hard for me to absorb into reading. I have months sometimes where that happens. I struggled a lot this month with chronic fatigue, and I had some pretty intense emotions around the solar eclipse Cancer, which I'm Cancer moon sign, so that was fun. Um, and so I just kind of went up and down with anxiety and depression, and which are both also things that I struggle with. So when that sort of thing happens, it can be really hard for me to focus on reading. And So I didn't really get through as many books as I would have hoped. I really actually only read one cover to cover, but I'm going to talk about several in here because I'm making my way through them still, and either that or, I may not read it complete cover to cover, but absorb it in some way. The book that I read cover to cover is The Soul of the North. This is by J.D. Thomason. Did I say his name? I actually won this in a giveaway from Jacob, who is the Wisdom of Odin here on YouTube. I will link his channel down below. He is actually writing a book for the same publisher, which is Hugin and Moongin Publishing. But this book was really great. It's not that big. It's I think it's only like 35 pages. Yeah, about 35. But it's a pretty good run through of your basic Astrology. Also, he includes his own illustrations, which I really, really enjoyed. Ooh, how do we do that? All right. I'm gonna find my favorite here in particular, but I just loved looking at all of the drawings that he incorporated. This is my favorite. And honestly, he really did a very good job kind of tying in the historical connections to Satru and just kind of how it has evolved throughout time as well. So this was something that, honestly, for as small as it was, it took me a couple of weeks just to get through it because I would read like a page and then I just couldn't focus. And, that happens sometimes. But I did get through it. And honestly, it really should have only taken me an evening. But it was absolutely wonderful. This is available on Amazon. I think it's only like $8. So if you guys are curious, please support this author because he did a fantastic job. The second book that I did pick up, and I have not read cover to cover, but I have read through bits and pieces here and there, is The Wanderer's Havamal. This is by Jackson Crawford. I gotta be honest, guys, I have my personal reservations towards Crawford, but just because of some of the things that I've seen him post on social media and that I just haven't agreed with on a personal level, but I'm not going to deny that he does know his stuff. So, well, I I didn't personally own a copy of the Havamal, and I did want to absorb it and kind of go through it. And as far as I could tell through reviews and stuff, Comfort honestly had the best, most modern, I want to say, um, approach to the Havamal, and I figured it would be the best for me to absorb. So I went with Jackson Crawford, and I know I won't regret it, because I can kind of disassociate the two there. But either way, I am enjoying going through this. I've always wanted to read it, and here we are, finally getting to do that. um, The other thing I am still working on this month is I am still studying astrology. So I'm making my way through Astrology for Yourself. This is by Douglas Block and Demetra George. Demetra George has a few other books that I've really been curious to read. But this is a workbook for interpreting your birth chart. So this is a fantastic learning tool. I'm really enjoying going through it. I actually bought a journal, and I did share this in my favorites for last month. I bought a journal to kind of go put all of my study into, and it's got my birth chart and information and all that stuff. So it's been really, really fun to do that. This is really a slow progress. It's just kind of whenever I feel like it. So I might mention it for a few months, and if I get further, if I complete it, I'll let you guys know a little bit more. And then the other thing that I have picked up is I just grabbed this black journal and I wrote the runes on it in a paint pen. I am going to be studying the runes a little bit more extensively, and I've been really wanting to do this really more so over the last few months. And out of the blue, Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot and Lisa from Supportive Tarot, two channels that I love and adore, will link down below. They are doing a collab study group on Facebook for the runes, and I was like, yes, I am all over this. I am in. I'm excited. So This will be my rune study journal. Um, and I have been working with my runes quite a bit. I have decided to start drawing a few runes every day in a sense of trying to communicate with my deities. And I think that's a really, really good way to familiarize myself with them, but also just have time with my deities. So that I honestly, admittedly, have only been doing for the last few days. So we'll kind of see how that plays out as I continue to explore more with it. So I'm trying to think. Um, every month I might kind of shift on like what I talk about versus like food or drinks if I decide to incorporate that in magical practices and things like that, crystals, herbs that I worked with. It's just going to depend on the month. I don't have anything pulled out in front of me, but I will say that this month I did do a summer solstice ritual. I wore my flower crown, which you guys saw in my last video. And I just did a solitary ritual where I had hard cider and I used that as an offering. And I just kind of sat and um, I had bought I wish I had it or recorded a clip um, to include, but I had bought a candle from very own Drew here YouTube, who's a good friend of mine. She is known here on YouTube as She Who Walks Between the Worlds. She has a website called Creations from the Hollow, and that is her personal business. She sells these incredible Sabbat candles. So I bought her a midsummer one, and they are so wonderful. Um, they crackle when they burn, and it's like having your own personal little fire. So I stuck it in my cauldron with some sand, and I just stayed near it the whole time because the flame gets pretty big. So um, I made sure to practice proper fire safety. But it was very wonderful to have that for summer solstice, especially because my summer solstice that I planned kind of got rained out. So I still had a wonderful ritual. I had a wonderful solstice, and I did make my own incense, which I did show on this channel the process of making that. I finally got a mortar and pestle too, which I have gone 20 years as a witch without having, and I don't know how, but here we are. Now I finally have one. Um, and I also did do a video of setting up my summer solstice altar, so it's also here on this channel if you guys want to take a look. But all in all, it was a wonderful solstice. Lots of powerful energy from the solar eclipse, and yeah, as I said, I felt that. Um, so now I'm going to get into the decks that I used. Right now I am doing 2 decks for every week. So I'm just going to kind of get into what I was working with. So for the first week in June, I actually was working with the Star Spinner Tarot. And I initially had pre-ordered this, and then I actually canceled my pre-order just because at the time I was trying to save a little bit of money. But then, you know, that all got better, so I decided to treat myself to it. I really enjoy this deck. I enjoy just the fantasy aspect to it, the otherworldly approach to it. But the other thing that I really enjoy is the inclusiveness of it, specifically for LGBT. Star. Oh, the star card is so pretty. Um, that's my astrological card for Aquarius. Um, so they have, I think, 4 options for the lovers, and so they're all LGBTQ plus inclusive. But this deck is just beautiful, and it's very like it takes you just to another world. It kind of reminds me of my childhood a little bit in the sense of my love for fairy tales and Sailor Moon, and the Chariot in particular makes me think of Sailor Moon because it has here's the 2 of Cups. This is so beautiful. The Chariot in particular made me think of Sailor Moon. I know, guys, I'm a dork. Because I swear it looks like it has Luna and Artemis, the two cats. But there's a lot, there's mythology, a lot of mythology references in here as well, which I'm all for. And I'm trying to find this chariot card, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, here's a chariot. See? I swear. It just immediately made me think of Luna and Artemis from Sailor Moon. But yeah, here's one of the lovers cards, which I love. It's just so like I love the feel of all the lovers cards. They all kind of have this tenderness to them. And the Empress in this deck, oh, she's so pretty. Look at her. Yeah, if this color palette is up your alley, you will not be disappointed with this deck. This is another favorite of mine. Look at Valkyrie. You guys know I'm all about the Valkyrie. The other thing is that it is body positive as well, which was wonderful to see. This is such a beautiful card for the world. Oh, if I could get it to focus. My face. There we go. Yeah. So that is the Star Spinner Tarot. And that is by Trungles, who is actually an artist that's here in Minnesota, I found out when I was reading through the guidebook, which is really cool. The guidebook, the take on the cards is really wonderful too. They include some of your basic spreads in this guidebook, but it's really, really fun. I always love reading the introductions and kind of like how the deck came to be and the artist's thoughts on it stuff. So yeah, that is the Star Spinner Tarot. And then the oracle that I worked with for that week was the Roots and Wings. This is the mini version. I have shared this on my channel before, I'm pretty sure, but I really enjoy this deck quite a bit. This is by Kat Ryland, I think it's how you say her last name. But she has incredible art prints too for like the national parks, and she's got one of Mount Rainier that I really want to get. But her artwork is really wonderful, and this deck, like, it's so you can use it very intuitively. She does have a guidebook that she will give you when you purchase the deck that's a PDF, which I do have on my phone. Fingers in the way, and there's a glare. But there are plenty of walkthroughs of this deck. This is as I said. So I just want to see more of that. But this deck is it's a good catch-all. It's a good overall. I don't know how to say it, but there's just so much in here that you could do for so much. It has a lot to offer. Is really kind of the best way to put it. So in June, I actually went through my tarot deck collection, and I actually sold, I think, 6 decks. And I ended up getting, I think, 4. Just because I had gone through and I was like, these aren't working for me. I'd rather them go to a different home and maybe get decks that I'm hoping will work better. So I did do that. And one of them, two of which I will share here, but one of them is the Mermaid Tarot. This is by Lisa Robertson. Yes, and the illustrations are by Julie Dillon. Guidebook's right here. This is a Llewellyn deck, but I really, really like this deck. It's kind of interesting. For the suits, it's glossy. I apologize, guys. For the suits, even with it being a watery deck, they did a very good job incorporating the elements throughout the suits. So you've got your wands here, and there's still fire. Or I like this one because it makes me think of Moana. If you guys have ever seen the movie Moana, you should, especially if you're a witch who's into ancestral worship, because there's a very heavy theme in that movie for ancestral worship. But yeah, the or, you know, the cups, obviously they did a really good job with incorporating, of course, water. I'll try and find a pentacles here. Queen of Wands with Pele. And then the swords are all ice. It's just interesting. I really like how they did it. The artwork is very beautiful. Here's the three pentacles there. So, there we go. So they did a really good job incorporating the four elements into the suits. I like this one too because it kind of makes me think of Jadis from Chronicles of Narnia a little bit. But the artwork in this deck I really greatly enjoy. I am really, really picky about mermaid decks, and I just thought I was worried I wouldn't find one that I enjoyed, and I was really grateful when I could find one that was not expensive either, because not everybody has the money to go around and do that kind of stuff. But I keep it in this little mermaid makeup bag. For those of you who don't know, The Little Mermaid was my favorite movie growing up. So that is hopefully one of the reasons why I like this deck. Anyway, the guidebook is incredible. It's thick, and it's got full color images in it, which is just wonderful because you can kind of see the image completely blown up and just absorb it. It does have both reversed and upright, and I have been exploring a little bit more with reversals, as now I have not gotten more comfortable with the upright meanings of the cards. So that has also been a fun experience. But I am all about guidebooks for tarot because I really enjoy everybody's interpretation of the cards. So the next deck I worked with the Mermaid Tarot is the Oracle of Echoes. I shared this in my last favorites because I did work with it last month as well, but the Oracle of Echoes has kind of this watery presence to it, so I felt it was a pretty good pairing. The other thing about the Oracle of Echoes that I greatly enjoy is that it's extremely psychological. This deck is by Innertaro, and I know I have shared this, like I said, I shared it last month, so I'm not really going to get into it too much, but it is very evocative, very deep, to the point where I honestly feel just kind of reaches into you quite a bit. I tend to also use this deck for dream work, which I know I've also mentioned before, but yeah, that deck is astounding. I don't know if she has it available right now because she only does, I think she only does print runs every few months, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'll have to look into it. If it's available, I will definitely have the link down below. I'll have the link to her shop either way. So there are 4 more decks to talk about. The other one that I got last month in the decks that I sold / traded, and yeah, is the Antique and Enemy Tarot. This deck I actually was kind of nervous about purchasing just because I wasn't entirely sure how I would feel about it, and I love it. So I have one of her other decks by Clary Goodchild, and I really love that deck, and so I was really excited to kind of dip my toes into this one. I cannot, guys, I cannot get rid of this box. Like, it's too pretty. So it's going to live in its box. The other big thing that I really, really liked about this deck, is the guidebook. The mass market guidebook is beautiful to the point where I was like, I don't even want the indie version because I know there are still indie versions of this deck kind of kicking around. But the guidebook is so wonderful. And she has this moon cycle spread that is really awesome, and I really enjoyed it. She also she really goes into like the elements in the tarot and the colors, and that she really put a lot into this and astrology. And I'm so impressed with this guidebook. There's always, I need to glue a ribbon in this. I'm not gonna fight with it. I need to glue a ribbon in the bottom of this. But essentially, this deck is a pip deck. So that's something that was a little bit hard for me just because I am not quite used to pip decks completely. But again, I rely on the guidebooks quite a bit for decks because I love to, like I said, read about what artists' interpretations of the cards. But I love this deck. I love the incorporation of life and death, and I actually found it to be a pretty easy reader for me. I was pretty comfortable with it, where I was really concerned that I wouldn't be. And I think the more that I would maybe understand about Marseille style decks, I think I could get even more out of this deck. I don't have a full intention on ever getting a Marseille deck, I don't think, for the time being, and learning Marseille. I'm fine with having some of the decks that I do have that are Pip style decks and kind of understanding it or exploring a little bit there. But either way, this deck is beautiful, and I'm really glad that it surprised me. So that is the Antique Anatomy Tarot. And then the deck that I used, Oracle deck that I used with it, is the Illuminated Earth Oracle by Claire Mack. She is a Pacific Northwest artist. And this one and the Anima Mundi Tarot make me think of Washington. But this deck is very earthy, but very kind of dreamlike, I would say. It's very well balanced. And it actually fit really well with the Antique Anatomy, which I really enjoyed. They had good conversations together. So I will put the link to her shop below as well. Can get it in there. And I just like shake them, and then, yep, there they go. They kind of like fall into place. Yep. Okay. Sorry, readjusting because my leg's falling asleep. The last decks that I'm currently working with this week, so it's kind of like the last few days of June and into July. So you might see a repeat of this in next month because I'm probably going to talk about this quite a bit. Is I'm working with the Star Seeker Tarot. This one just came out over the last month, I'd say. I know there's a Kickstarter deck. I admittedly was very interested in this deck, but I didn't back it on Kickstarter. And I didn't pre-order it either because I kind of wasn't sure how I would feel about it. But she did recently a scratch and dent sale where she was selling slightly damaged decks for a fraction or like a discount essentially, and then a certain amount of the proceeds would go to the Black Lives Matter movement. So I really wanted to be part of that, and so I decided to jump on the opportunity. And I mean, my deck just has a little bit of a imperfection right there. No big deal. It's a beautiful deck, and truthfully, I'm glad I did this because honestly, I really it's right up my alley for kind of the things that I enjoy. It's a very well produced deck, beautiful, and it's got these purple edges on it. The backs are just it's my thing, like moons and stars. Um, but yeah, her artwork is not. It kind of makes me think of the textured tarot, even though I don't have that deck and I've never actually seen it in person. I just don't know why, but it does. But she has a really good balance of colors in here, and I feel like some of them are definitely very immersive. Some of her takes on the cards are interesting too, in the sense of some of them I've never really seen them interpreted that way. I'm trying to find one that I'm thinking of. It was one of the knights. I like the Two of Pentacles here. Instead of holding, I mean, she's technically holding one higher than the other. Focus. But yeah, but yeah, it is beautiful. It really is, and I'm really glad I got this. I'm probably going to talk about it a little bit more next month as well because I think I might use this for quite a little bit more this month. We'll see. Either way, I'm very much enjoying it, and I'm very grateful that I was able to get it. And this is by Nikki Ferreira, I believe. I know she's known as the Van Mystic on both Instagram and um, Etsy. But yeah, I will put her link down below. And then the Oracle deck that I'm using for right now is the Threads of Fate. I've actually had this since the beginning of the year, and funny enough, it was kind of the same similar situation. I've wanted this deck for quite some time, but I could never afford it. And then at the beginning of the year, they had listed a few of them for deeply discounted because they had slightly damaged boxes. And again, mine just has a little bit of damage here on the box, but I was able to get it for honestly a fraction of what I would have paid, and it made me afford it. So that was fantastic. One thing is it's a little hard to open the box because of the imperfection, but um, I've learned a trick to just kind of essentially like yeah, this is what we're doing. Anyway, this deck is really interesting because it's kind of archetypal, and it's got a lot of symbolism in it, but there are also human figures sometimes in the background of the deck. It's got this like kind of cosmic otherworldly feel. It kind of makes me think of the Star Child deck from Danielle Noel. So it actually works pretty well with the Star Seeker as well. But it's also a pretty well balanced deck. Like there's the Shadow card. In the guidebook, they talk about how each of these symbols and animals that you might see in these cards, everything was chosen intuitively and for a reason, and they go into that, which I love. I just love that. Love it when people explain like, hey, they chose things and what they think they symbolize and what it symbolizes to them, and it's fascinating. So, yeah, those are the things that I worked with and enjoyed and experienced during the month of June. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I rambled on for about 30 minutes now, but at least I hope it was somewhat entertaining. Either way, thank you guys for watching, and as always, blessed be.